Good evening and welcome to the Olympia Metropolitan Park District Board meeting for October 24th. I know we have all of our board members in the room and almost seated, so welcome everyone. I'm looking for a approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion or amendment? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That takes us to public comment. So we have one speaker this evening, Mr. Bob Jacobs. If you could make your way to the podium, you have 2 minutes when you start.
I'm sorry for the confusion. I was hoping to be signed up for the open mic at the council meeting.
Okay, great. So we'll park you for the 7 o'clock and make sure that you're on that list.
Yeah, right at
It's
the
still
top
out
of the
there.
list if you don't mind.
6 o'clock.
Or sorry, 6 o'clock. And that list is still out there, Bob, if you want to check. Okay, so I have no further public comment signed up. So anything from the community that we should know about? Okay, so that will take us then to the next item, which is the approval of the minutes from April 24th.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion or amendment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And then that takes us to, we're going to have a public hearing on the Olympia Metropolitan Park District budget. And I'm going to go to our OMPD director, Silvana Niehauser.
All right. Good evening.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did. You did. Great. Yeah. Good evening, President Cooper and members of the board. For the record, I'm Silvana Niehauser, the Director of Parks Planning and Maintenance, and I'm going to give you a quick overview of the preliminary budget. And we recently got updated numbers. So if you're looking at the staff report, the numbers are a little bit different. They got updated. So the copies of the presentation that were sent out to you either earlier today or yesterday, those are going to be the ones that are in the presentation. All right, so the preliminary total for the 2024 OMPD budget is a little more than 5.5 million. And you'll see there that our 36% of that will go to the capital budget. 64% is planned to go to the operating budget. We had an increase from when we originally put this presentation together of $97,000. And I want to highlight that we had some recommendations from PRAC regarding our CFP, and we are taking those into consideration. So, and when I get to the capital budget, I'll highlight those items so you can see that. So with the preliminary operating budget for the OMPD, we have a little over 2.2 million going to parks maintenance. The entire stewardship and ranger program is funded by the MPD. And then a portion of planning and design, as well as the arts program and their maintenance and the armory. So that is the 5 buckets that the OMPD goes into on the operating side. For the capital side, traditionally we have done $750,000 for our capital asset management program, we had a nice, healthy discussion at PRAC around this program, and the recommendation was to look at doing an inflator for the consumer price index and the inflation of costs for our projects. And with that extra money that came in through the OMPD that we weren't anticipating, we put $30,000 more towards the capital asset management program. So we did a 4% CPI inflator. And then for Percival, it's a little more than $6,000. And for our ADA program, it's $8,000 more. So that brings us to our proposed budget and our proposed revenue, which would be a little bit more than $5.5 million. And that estimation for the levy rate would be just about 50 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. It puts it at 0.49993. So, and at this time, I would like to invite Daniel up to speak on behalf of the advisory committee, the OMPD advisory committee. He's our chair, and they've prepared a letter that's in your packet regarding the budget.
Thank you, Silvana. Nice to be here for the first time. President Cooper and members of the board. So your advisory committee has sort of a peculiar role. We're here to assure that the district is complying with the interlocal agreement with you, the council. And we are here to say you are. This proposal, the 2024, is in compliance with the interlocal agreement. The compliance is there because there was a goal that when we ask for new taxes from the public, that those monies would go to parks, and that's what this compliance issue is about. And yet, in being in compliance, as you all know, with inflation factors and other matters that are constraining, doesn't mean you're keeping up always. And there's systemic ways that actually things fall by the wayside if you aren't able to make these flexible adjustments, which isn't easy to do. So the advisory committee actually wanted to add a little bit more than just telling you that you're in compliance. We want to note this that looks like, and the references here, the rate, the ad valorem tax rate, because of the 1% maximum increase per year, has gone from 55 cents to 49 cents plus per thousand. And this is a trend that could be problematic in the long run. So the advisory committee is wanting you to look at that issue of your goal is to keep trust with the original public intent, and to look closely as you look at your overall tax system to see if you can maintain that integrity with what the intent was all along, even though you have all these other obligations, they're also being constrained by the same processes. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Vice President Parsley?
Thank you, one, for your letter was excellent. And thank you for mentioning the 1% property cap, because as the city manager, who is in the audience, actually not sitting up front, and Aaron B. Miller will tell you, and the whole council, it's a struggle for the whole budget. So we appreciate the call out. I would also say we appreciate the ask for a levy, but I would encourage you to wait and see what the city does, because as a city as a whole, we may have to make some big decisions.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Yeah, thanks for highlighting the erosion of that tax. I think a lot of people in the community, if they had any connection to it originally, probably still believe there's capacity for the city, and all of that extra capacity has been eroded by the wonderful system that we've been given.
That's right.
Thank you for that. Okay. Any other comments on the budget before we move to the public hearing?
I just wanted to mention that on November 21st would be the next upcoming OMPD meeting date, where we would hope to adopt or put before you 2 resolutions. So regarding the budget and the ad valorem tax.
Nothing like that, picture.
Okay, any questions on the budget before I open the public hearing? Great. And then just to be clear, Silvana, the public hearing will be about the figure that was on the PowerPoint slide, not on the staff report. So $5,579,598.
Correct.
Okay, everybody good? Okay, with that, I'm going to open the public hearing on the OMPD 2024 budget. I have no one signed up. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the proposed budget for the Metropolitan Parks District? Going once, going twice. Okay, with that, the public hearing is closed. And then I would love to hear discussion from the council, or if anyone would like to make a motion to start that discussion, we're looking for a motion to direct staff to prepare the budget resolution in the amount of $5,579,598 and bring it back to us for approval on November 21st.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the budget as it was presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, that takes us to item 4C, which is a public hearing on the Olympia Metropolitan Park District ad valorem tax. And with that, I'm going to bring up Aaron B. Miller, who is the treasurer for the OMPD.
Good evening, President. Good evening, board members. Excuse me, Aaron B. Miller, Board Treasurer and with the Finance Department for the city. Excuse me, ad valorem taxes. So state law, we've talked about this a little bit, and I'll move quickly through these, but state law limits the growth on property tax for a district to 1% or the implicit price deflator, whichever is less. The implicit price deflator is a measure of inflation, similar to the CPI, but it's a much bigger basket of goods than the CPI is. And for 2024 collections, so the 2023 IPD was at 3.67. So this means we can increase the property tax revenue by the full 1%. And then we have these legally allowed add-ons after that for new construction, state assessed utilities, as well as a refund levy. As was mentioned earlier, the statutory maximum for the OMPD levy is 75 cents. And unlike the city's property tax, 100% of the proceeds of this levy goes straight into the OMPD, so it's not divided up into different segments. So property tax is a revenue based on a levy rate per $1,000 of assessed valuation. It is the county assessor that does the valuation for us. And to get to the levy rate, you take the revenue that this board will approve, divided by the assessed valuation, and then multiply it by 1,000. That's how we get to that levy rate. There is an inverse relationship between the assessed valuation and the levy rate. So as assessed valuation goes up, because we're constrained by that 1% revenue growth, the rate goes down. We still get more revenue because everybody's valuation has gone up. And the inverse is also true, which is happening this year. Assessed value has decreased, and that will force the rate up a little bit from last year. So we have a demonstration of it on this very simple demonstration. Shows a 4-year process where we have $1 billion in assessed valuation in year one. We levy $1 million of revenue, and so the levy rate is $1 per $1,000 of assessed valuation. Year two, the valuation goes up. We get a 1% increase on the previous year. And because of the increase in valuation, we get more revenue, but it forces the rate down. Same is true for year three in this demonstration. And what you can see is the difference between year three and year four. In year four, the assessed valuation drops. We still get the 1% increase on revenue, but it forces the rate up because of that decrease. The chart in front of you is the most recent valuation that we received. Now, we continually receive information from the assessor, and I want to make a couple of things clear on the left-hand side. We still don't have a final valuation, so when I spoke to the council, when I spoke to Finance Committee just a few days ago, we had a different valuation. So we've gotten an update there. We still have not received the state assessed property value. So there will still be some changes within the property tax. Excuse me, on the right-hand side, what we've done is we've just tried to demonstrate the OMPD property tax on different valuations, one at $350,000 and up to $650,000. You can see the levy rate is the same, and it calculates out to the annual OMPD levy payment. So a couple of interesting things. The assessed value is reduced by almost should be 490,000. I didn't update this one, sorry. And the total tax increase, as you can see, is about $3.74%. And the rate is roughly 4 cents higher than it was last year. So those figures I didn't get those updated with the newest information. And there we have it. Happy to answer any questions.
Board Member Gilman.
Thanks. Aaron, I'm just, this is just sort of a curiosity. In your table, you're working with a projection that assessed value that comes out in January will be, which is like 650 million less for the county. And I'm just curious because what's sort of publicly available to us from the assessor at this point is just that it was single-digit increases last year, much less dramatic than the central Puget Sound counties. But are those assessments already complete and we just don't see them until January? Or how do you get that number?
That comes from the assessor. So we get updates. They have not finalized the rolls yet. So until they finalize it, they probably don't put it out for consumption, at least as a final number. And they'll continue finalizing that until the end of the year. And so, yes, that will be, whatever that number is right now, it's 11,200,000,000, which is, as you said, less than last year. That is the 2023 assessed value that we use to calculate the collections in 2024. So the valuation is kind of a year behind, if you will. We're collecting in 2024 for 2023 values. Is that what you're asking?
That makes sense. So for other taxing districts, you're provided sort of interim reports of
That's
where
correct.
they're at.
That's
Thank you. I didn't know that.
Quick follow-on to that. Is there any explanation for the drop in AV?
I need to reach back out. When we first got the first report, I reached out and it was residential properties. And again, I just want to remind the board, a district is a city of Olympia in this case. So it doesn't mean everybody is going to see the exact same change. District-wide, there's a 1% increase limitation. But it doesn't mean your property tax will only go up by 1%. It may go up a little bit higher. Somebody else may go down a little bit lower. So it's district-wide. And with that, to get back to your question, what I was told a while ago was that the decrease is mostly to a revaluation of commercial properties, and residential properties were largely flat. So that was the reason for the reduction there.
Interesting. Maybe unused office space. I just assumed a little assumption in that. But okay. Thank you. I appreciate the extra explanation as well. Okay, and then just for clarification, any other questions for Aaron? Aaron, should I use the number that we used in the budget or the number that you had on the screen here?
Well, I think that's actually a question that I wanted to ask. As we get more information, do you want us to come back with a budget and a property tax levy that matches the most recent, or with this number?
Well, and that's actually what I was wondering. Can we do a more generic motion without a number and have you bring the appropriate number in the ordinance? Okay. And I think the budget to me is okay to have changed, and the ad valorem is the more legal process. Is that okay with you, or should we go back and change the motion on the budget? You're okay with that? Okay. Just checking in with our counsel for the viewing audience. Okay, so then let's open the public hearing for the ad valorem tax for the OMPD for 2024. Is there anyone? I have no one signed up. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak to the ad valorem property tax for the Metropolitan Parks District? Okay, hearing none, the public hearing is closed, and I will ask my fellow board members if there's a motion to direct staff to prepare an ad valorem tax resolution in the appropriate amount for the Olympia Metropolitan Parks District's board approval on November 21st.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, then that takes us to the end of our meeting. Is there anything? Oh wait, sorry, no, my bad. One other item for D, which is a presentation on the Olympia Metropolitan Park District Advisory Committee annual report regarding compliance of the 2022 funding levels. And I'll go to Silvana and she'll introduce this topic.
Yeah, so every year, finance prepares an analysis of the previous year's budget for Parks, Arts, and Recreation budget to ensure compliance with the Metropolitan Parks District and the city's interlocal agreement that Daniel had referenced earlier. And they present it to the advisory committee in the spring. The advisory committee then reviews the report. We also put it out for public comment. And then on October 11th, they reviewed the public comment, and the advisory committee put together a letter to the board in regards to their findings. And so I will turn it over to Daniel, to the chair of the advisory committee, to speak to their findings.
Thank you, Silvana. And very briefly, we're all in compliance. That's what our finding is. Any questions?
Thank you, Daniel. I think you did a great job explaining your role in the previous agenda item. So we can you just pass on to your fellow committee members how much we appreciate you putting the time into making sure that we are compliant. It's really an important, like, an auditing function for us.
It is. Thank you. I will do that.
Thank you. Any questions for Daniel? Okay, great. Now we're done. Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Okay, so then our next meeting will be on the 14th?
November 21st
On the 21st?
at 5:30 p.m.
At 5:30 p.m. Until then, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.